cancellation. Federal government engages international community on climate-smart agriculture. And Burkina Faso's new transitional legislative assembly takes oath of office. Let's begin the news with the first set of mega transformers procured under the federal government Siemens deal being ready for installation, with Abuja as the first benefiting city. Minister of Power Bakar Aliyu gave the cheering news while inspecting sites where the transformers will be installed. Joshua Ojitso reports.
First set of the mega transformers will be installed in Abuja, and the Power Minister Abubakar Aliyu inspects the sites, while more of the transformers are undergoing factory acceptance test.
It is already been cleared at the port, and due to the flooding, you cannot transport it, and that delayed the transportation. But we are now informed that the transportation will take place now, and it will be installed at the All Apo.
Meanwhile, work on the 5 new substations under the Abuja Ring Fence project to wrap up bulk electricity transmission around the nation's capital is nearing completion. The project will enable Abuja, in addition to hydro and Geragu sources, receive third source of power supply through the new 330 kV transmission line in Lafia, Nasarawa State.
Other 330 will be going to close the loop between the All Apo and New Apo and link it up there. It's a federal government project which started during this government in 2018. The government of President Muhammadu Buhari, in its quest to raise the operational capacity of the NESI, this is one of the projects that is being done in order to achieve that.
Located in Dawaki, Wumba, Kuje, Apo and Lugbe, the new substations will increase the transmission wheeling capacity with additional 1,000 megawatts, thereby boosting electricity supply in Abuja. Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
Obiageli Ugoke is our guide on this week's World in 6 Days.
U.S. President Joe Biden meets leaders from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations to push the U.S. commitment to the region in a bid to counter Beijing's influence there. He opened talks with regional leaders chaired by Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen shortly after his arrival in Bali, Indonesia. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden had a stopover in Egypt, where he attended the ongoing UN climate conference known as COP27 in the resort town of Sharm el-Sheikh. Shortly after arriving in Egypt, Biden met with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, where they discussed the two nations' strategic partnership, the Israel-Palestinian conflict, and regional security issues. In Africa, the first Kenyan soldiers are arriving in Goma in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo as part of regional East African force to bring peace to the troubled region as diplomatic efforts continue. The deployment comes amid heavy fighting in north of Goma between Congolese troops and rebels of the M23 movement, a former Tutsi rebellion that took up arms in late 2021. And in Chad, more than 620 people, including dozens of minors, have been arrested after anti-regime protests that left at least 50 dead. The arrest is far higher than previously stated official figure, but had been suggested by local and international rights groups after the mass demonstrations. From Burkina Faso, new transitional legislature takes office. 71 deputies were appointed on Friday, more than a month after the coup d'etat that brought Captain Ibrahim Traoré to power. This assembly is responsible for voting on the text of reforms planned during the transition. The 71 deputies were appointed by the head of state 20 deputies for the Defense and Security Forces, 16 for the civil society organizations, 12 representatives of the country's regions, 13, one per region, and 10 for the political parties. An update on U.S. midterm election, we informed you control of U.S. Senate hung in the balance on Friday as election workers in Arizona and Nevada tallied hundreds of thousands of uncounted ballots. Finally, the report on Beijing new wave of COVID-19 cases as millions of people remained under lockdown in the west and south of China wraps up the review for this week. Obegili Ugwoke, NTA News.
On the sidelines of COP27, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development is engaging the international community on climate-smart agriculture as a pathway to achieving sustainable, resilient agriculture in Nigeria. Onenge Fine-Face brings us details.
Agriculture is an emitter but serves also as a carbon sink.
We intend to get more partners, investment to achieve our mandate for growing the portfolio of the Special Agricultural Industrial Processing Zone. Recently, we just got SDG 7 to partner with us in terms of the 400 megawatts of energy that we need to produce.
The Federal Ministry of Agriculture is therefore exploring investment opportunities for the agri sector in Nigeria.
The bank is supporting SAPs in Nigeria with $210 million of investment. We are also co-financing the Economic Development Bank with IFAD and another partners. We believe very strongly that this is the way to diversify Nigeria's economy.
Nigeria's Special Agricultural Processing Zone is top on the agenda for discussions at COP27.
I met with about 2 or 3 different private sectors. I engaged them. There's a collaborative effort to see how they can support us so that we can see how we reduce these farmer herder clashes and we mitigate the effect of climate change on our livestock sector.
And this factory will be established at the production areas. That is, the infrastructure will include renewables, using clean technology so that we can earn carbon credit while at the same time implementing this project.
Outcomes will include improved practices to resolve climate change-induced conflicts in the scramble for scarce resources. In Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, Onenge Fine-Face, NTA News.
The federal government and other non-governmental organizations are out to assist smallholder farmers boost their farming output as well as alleviate poverty among them. And this is coming as some group of women farmers were assisted and trained on greenhouse farming in Abuja. Musa Babali reports.
No woman, no food on the table is a popular saying among women farmers in Nigeria. This is because of the role they play from production, harvest to processing. In order to boost the farming activities of women in Abuja, a non-governmental organization has trained some selected farmers on greenhouse farming. Aisha Babangida, the daughter of the former military president, is the founder of the organization.
So with the agriculture now, we've taken women and educating them about the prospect of feeding the country, feeding themselves, feeding their families, but finding solutions, innovative solutions. We know now with the situation in the country with the insurgency in the farms, so there's greenhouse farming, there's a backyard farming, so trying to educate them in that angle to see how they can add value with their entrepreneurship.
Farming tools and equipment were presented to the farmers with a warning to utilize them for their social economic well-being.
Our desire is that they will make use of what they have learned. We've also given them a startup kit that can help them to start small. They can practice their nursery farming, their backyard farming, their hydroponics, and they've also been given some cash.
I used to think farming was all about acquiring a plot of land in the bush or traveling far to make cultivation. But right now, you can farm at the closest of your environment.
We came here with little or no idea about innovative farming, but now we have a wide knowledge. I have a wide knowledge on innovative farming, greenhouse farming.
The This support is coming at a time the Federal Ministry of Agriculture is rolling out special program for rural women farmers. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
And the Federal Ministry of Agriculture has also revealed some of the efforts being taken to avert food crisis as a result of poor output of 2022. This is coming as Farmers Association appealed to the government to release funds for the 2022 to 2023 dry season farming. Here's Musa Baliu again with the details.
The 2022 rainy season has come and gone, leaving smiles and some taste of bitterness for some farming communities. While few are counting and appreciating their harvests, others are still counting their losses as a result of the flood. The losses recorded in 34 states, farmers believe could be a threat to the national food security.
This posed a threat.
And here are representatives of 63 commodity associations representing 18 million farmers in the country. They analyze the successes and challenges of the 2022 wet season.
Under the Maize Association of Nigeria, we cultivated more than 50,000 hectares on our own. Why? Because we want to continue, we want to maintain providing food security in Nigeria.
The country depends on us for their food security, and we have no option. We said we are going to do it, and as farmers, we will do it.
The meeting therefore called for the release of special fund to assist farmers boost their production this dry season farming.
One good thing is about that we have also reminded the government that they should please continue supporting farmers, and farmers across the country cannot disappoint the government.
In the meantime, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture has outlined special program and support for 2022-2023 dry season farming.
Engagement in land preparation in collaboration with the state and local governments to open more land and take advantage of residual moisture for dry season farming. Intensification of training and deployment of extension agents in the 36 states and FCT to provide advisory services on the use of hydroponics, water management, and other good agricultural practices to increase food production.
However, farmers expressed the hope that the CBN will release funds for the dry season. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
More international charity organizations have continued to send relief support to the victims of flooding in Nigeria following the devastating floods that ravaged most parts of the country. The latest donation is coming from the United Arab Emirates Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center. Director General National Emergency Management Agency Mustafa Habib Ahmed received the items on the behalf of the federal government of Nigeria. Ilyasu Yakubu reports.
This is the third time in 2 weeks the Nigerian government is receiving relief support from international charity organizations following the floods that devastated many communities and rendered millions homeless across the country. The UAE ambassador to Nigeria, Dr. Fahad Al-Tafaq, who presented the items on behalf of the government and people of UAE, said the gesture to support those affected by flood is in solidarity with Nigeria in this tragic loss. He said the 2022 flood disaster is overwhelmingly tragic, hence this deployment of support to the government and people of Nigeria.
This is one token to appreciate the relationship, the growing relationship that we have with Nigeria, and that we hope we can continue to build upon what we have done so far and enhance our bilateral relations further.
The DG Nema appreciated the kind gesture from the government and people of United Arab Emirates, especially when efforts are being made by the Nigerian government to support the populace in relief and recovery in communities that were devastated by flood. He conveyed the appreciation of President Muhammadu Buhari and the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, and promised the items will be distributed to the target beneficiaries.
It's a great pleasure to have the support of the United Arab Emirates to the people who are affected by 2022 flood.
The items donated include food and non-food items. In Abuja, Ilyasu Yakubu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Director General National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Mustafa Habib Ahmed, says the agency is not leaving any stone unturned in providing succor for victims of floods across the country. NEMA boss stated this when he handed over relief materials to Akwa Ibom State government for onward distribution to affected victims. Here again is Ilyasu Yakub with the report.
In view of the fact that Akwa Ibom State is surrounded by rivers and ocean, it is severely hit by the flooding that ravaged most part of the country. Many residents were displaced and property worth millions of naira destroyed. The DG NEMA handed over the relief materials to the State Deputy Governor Moses Ekpo for onward distribution to the victims. The NEMA boss conveyed the sympathy of President Muhammadu Buhari to the government and people of the state over the devastating flooding. He announced the deployment of federal government's grains to the state out of the 12,000 metric tons approved by President to be distributed to vulnerable Nigerians across the state.
I am very confident that NEMA intervention, together with the efforts of the Akwa Ibom State SEMA, will enable the speedy recovery of the affected persons from the unfortunate flood disaster.
Akwa Ibom State Deputy Governor thanked the federal government for the show of solidarity and support for the victims and promised equitable distribution of the items.
Extend our appreciation to the head of state, to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for caring about these victims in our state. And we hope that we will continue in this way to look after our people.
The DG NEMA inspected the office accommodation donated to NEMA by the state government. From Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, Ilyasu Yakubu, NTA News.
You've been watching the news on NTA International. More reports ahead. Stay with us.
Third final in 20 years.
Simply out of this world. Yes, a GoTV decoder, GoTenna, and 1 month max subscription for only 6,900 naira. Watch all the 64 games live from Qatar on GoTV Super.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super fast internet access today. Visit intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel. Live more.
Many thanks for staying tuned to the news on NTA International. Moving on, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group has cancelled the presidential debate on economic policy earlier planned for next Tuesday in Abuja. The private sector-led think tank and policy advocacy group said the decision became necessary after a critical assessment of events surrounding recent engagements with the presidential candidates, as well as subsequent statements from political parties. The group said the debate will no longer take place as planned due to these prevailing circumstances, while debates are essential to the election process and are increasingly regarded as a tradition and the bedrock of a healthy democracy. The group apologized for any inconvenience this decision may cause our stakeholders and all Nigerians and remain committed to providing a platform for such engagements in the national interest. A group of progressive and eminent Nigerians, the compatriots, is bent on the reinvention of a Nigeria where her unity, peace and development matters most. Charles Alpha tells us more.
Nigeria, even though faced with waves of crippling challenges, the compatriots, a group of well-meaning Nigerians that cut across all divides, believes do not amount to a failed state, and that the country possesses the human and material resources to develop and prosper as a cohesive and vibrant political and economic community.
People who believe Nigeria is a failed experiment, it is not.
We will do everything there is to restore hope, and we will help the country go through the post-election issues that are likely to come.
The compatriots, a name derived from the Nigerian national anthem, seeks to provide a platform for discussions of all grievances of Nigerian communities in the context of its collective survival and development.
Though tribe and tongue may differ, we do not have to sing discordant tunes. We have therefore resolved, in the spirit of our national anthem, to arise to the service of Nigeria with the vision to reinvent a new and better Nigeria.
For them, a proper sense of nationhood and common nationalities require a new mode of political engagement where leaders are held accountable and justice, equity as well as fairness reign supreme. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Governor Samuel Otom of Benue State has stated that 5 governors of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, otherwise known as the G5, stand for integrity, equity and justice in Nigeria. Governor Samuel Otom made a statement while addressing the audience at a banquet organized for the group after the meeting in Enugu. Susan Eze reports.
3 of the G5 governors arrived in Enugu and were received by the host governor, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, at the Akanu International Airport. After several hours of a closed-door meeting by the 4 governors in attendance, on behalf of his colleagues, Governor Samuel Otom of Benue State appreciated the hospitality accorded them and reiterated the stand of the G5 governors of the PDP.
G5 is meant for integrity, it's meant for patriotism, it's meant for equity, fairness, and justice. Our passion is that how can we make things work here in Nigeria by being disciplined. It's not about ourselves, not about our ego, it's not about anything, it's about what we do. We turn around things and ensure the rule of law, due process of everything we do, so that we have other people visiting us, so that there will be security, so that our economy will be on the right path. By the grace of God, all of us will put our hands together. It's not just about Buhari, it's not just about political parties, APC, PDP, and all those ones. That is how we can come together and cause things to work. Nigeria.
Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State, Okezie Ikpeazu of Abia, Samuel Otom of Benue, and Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi of Enugu State were at the meeting. In Enugu, Susan Eze, NTA News.
Promoting peace and national development through equitable distribution of socioeconomic amenities and infrastructure facility nationwide was the focus of a one-day awareness workshop for key players in the South-South zone held in Calabar. Udua Ketim reports that the workshop is part of efforts to drive the implementation of the federal character principles mechanism to build effective representation of various components of the country's position of power, especially in ministries, departments, and agencies.
Engagement is one of the cardinal strategies of the Federal Character Commission for sustainable decision and positive outcome for governance, transparency, and accountability in the public and civil service sectors. This sensitization workshop in Calabar drew participants from the South-South zone to have an insight on the implementation of the Commission's second mandate of ensuring equitable distribution of socioeconomic amenities and infrastructural facilities nationwide. Different speakers and resource persons highlight balanced development as crucial for peace and national security.
If you have fair and equitable distribution of resources, and you see that justice will come, everybody will be happy, and peace comes out. Peace is a derivative.
The workshop is a welcome development. Like the second mandate, all the states will be represented.
Whoever are the leaders, irrespective of whatever political party they belong, they should see that they are representing their people and don't deprive a particular place of
amenities.
The Commission believes effective cooperation with stakeholders will help in smooth implementation of its second mandate.
Of all participants across the NPAs to embrace us as they embark on the implementation of this mandate. I therefore subscribe for general collaboration, as this is all part of our collective effort to develop our dear country.
It is hoped that the twin mandates of the Commission will provide a veritable platform for its actualization. In Calabar, Uduak Etam, NTA News.
Now let's go to the stadium for sports update with Gift George.
On to the Lagos Women Run. 14-year-old student from Plateau State, Vera Yohoma, emerged champion of the 2022 Lagos 10-kilometer Women Run Saturday. She won it in a time of 29 minutes, 38.72 seconds to push Lagos girl Hawawu Haruna to the second position. Elizabeth Nuhu, also from Plateau State, finished in the first position in the veterans category.
And went for train so that they can actually be
To the Nigerian Professional Football League, the meeting of the interim management committee and the clubs in the Nigerian Professional Football League has been postponed. The league body last week announced 14 November as the date of the meeting with the participating clubs ahead of the new season. The meeting will now take place on the 21st of November in Abuja. All the clubs have been duly notified. In women's football, head coach of Bayelsa Queens, Dumo Okara, says the team will be back to compete in the CAF Women's Champions League and hope to perform better. The Prosperity Ladies crashed out of the CAF Women's Champions League after losing to Asfa of Morocco on Wednesday by a lone goal. The Nigerian representatives, who admitted losing to a better Moroccan side, will try to redeem itself when it takes on Simba Queens of Tanzania in the third place match on Saturday. On the foreign scene, in boxing, former world heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua is set to turn to Roy Jones Jr. as he weighs up a potential change of coaches ahead of his 2023 return. The two-time world heavyweight champion, who suffered a second straight defeat to Ukrainian Alexander Usyk in August, with his next bout likely to be his first non-title fight since 2015. Joshua replaced long-term trainer Robert McCracken with Robert Gracia in the wake of his defeat to Usyk, but the 33-year-old is already reviewing his options. Roy Jones Jr., who has worked with Chris Eubank for his recent fight, revealed the news of his potential partnership with Anthony Joshua. With sports updates, Gift George, NTA News.
That's the news on NTA International. Before we go, a quick reminder on the need to join the NTA in the campaign against rape and rapists. I'm Comfort Amodu. Thanks for watching.
"24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet and phone. Log on to visiontv.co.uk and click on Entertainment, then NTAI. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile devices to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International. Your window to the world.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
Train your children just so you have peace, they say. Spare the rod and spoil the child. Because if you don't punish children physically, their personal development will suffer. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to a brand new episode of The Rainbow on Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. My name is Hamida Aregbe, and the topic for today is parenting. How did they go wrong? What are the things they need to do right as parents? How do they affect the lives of their children? All this and more are the things we're going to be discussing on this episode. So to begin with, let's open with a feature. Enjoy.
It is said that children learn what they see faster than what they hear. This goes to show that parenting goes further than the things we say to being a function of what we do, especially with the family as the first point of call for a child's training. African parenting has been one of the most controversial topics when it comes to parent and children relationship. There are many opinions as to how parents should raise their children, especially with the Western worldview, which is opposed to a lot of the African cultural way of parenting. Some key aspects of parenting that are rooted in the African culture include greetings, which is the first important lesson parents must inculcate in their children. In the African culture, it is believed that the children should greet the elders first, and this is done with different gestures to show respect in different tribes. The Igbos bend their heads slightly and use both hands as a sign of respect, as opposed to the Western one-hand shake. The Yoruba females kneel, while the males lay flat on the ground prostrating. The Hausas, on the other hand, squat while greeting. Folktale and storytelling. The African style of parenting thrives on sharing or passing life lessons and experiences in form of stories from older to younger generations. This is also a way of bridging the communication gap between parents and children, as the children get to ask questions and the parents answer these questions by sharing a part of their life with them, especially in the cool of the evening after a long day. Correction and discipline is a very evident part of African parenting, where the parent corrects the child when he or she does wrong and disciplines them when necessary by strokes, deprivation, or punishment. Postpartum care, also known as Ojojomo in Yoruba, Omugo in Igbo, Bayan Hawa in Hausa, and Huma in Akwa Ibom, is another important part of African parenting, when the mother of either of the couple come to take care and teach the new mother some essential and beneficial tricks after birth. Another beautiful part of African parenting is the fact that the training of a child is the collective responsibility of the biological parent, extended family, and neighbors or society at large, where everyone has an input to make and a responsibility to every child around. As the adage says, a single hand cannot nurse a child. This also helps the child to grow with a sense of social responsibility, to be respectful, responsible, and supportive. Though some of the ancient African practices may be extreme and require modification, it is also important to note that many of our African cultural practices are deeply rooted in inculcating morals, values, and life lessons in the younger generations, as opposed to the opinion that it is barbaric and outdated.
The African style of parenting has suffered a lot of scrutiny, with a lot of names attached to it, such as barbaric, dominating, and outrightly harsh. That has prompted us into the discussion of today on our interview segment, and we're talking parenting. So the question is the African style of parenting truly barbaric? Interview segment up next. Hello, welcome to the discussion segment of the Rainbow. And today we're talking about parenting. Believe me, we're going to have a whole lot to talk about today, and definitely it might not end yet. So I won't be the only one talking about this today. I have someone very special with me that would help to enlighten us more about discipline, parenting, African style of parenting in general. So Ma, please introduce yourself and your designation.
My name is Rita Bassi, popularly known as Counselor Rita, the founder of Think Counseling Network and Human Development Initiative. I'm a counseling psychologist and a personal development trainer.
So I think I'm going to refer to you as Counselor Rita, so am I permitted?
Yeah.
So, Ma'am, we'll be talking about African style of parenting today.
Okay.
And from what I have with me, I have under this topic, or under this topic of discussion, I have discipline, I have marriage, I have upbringing, and I have society.
Okay.
Yes. So I think we have like 4 now.
Okay.
4. So let's begin. But before I delve into any of these topics, I would ask first, is African style of parenting traumatic? Or what are the possible traumas that could be associated with African style of parenting?
The question is so... It makes me laugh because it just drove me to how I was being raised up by my parents. You know, I can say as psychologists, it's a mixture. There are some little trauma in it. Depends on how the parents really carry the children on. But, you know, I love the African style of parenting because they made us to know who we are from birth. I could remember when as a little girl, that is how a girl don't sit. Do you understand? And up till now, as old as I am, I'm so conscious of not sitting and opening all my legs up there. You understand? So they start from birth to train up their children. And a child that is being trained from birth, no matter where you find yourself, that culture, that discipline, those words are still there as guardians to make you excel in life. So I love African style of parenting.
Ma, thank you for opening that way. So now let's delve into discipline.
Okay.
So discipline, we have spanking and scolding.
Yep.
So is spanking a crime?
Spanking.
Okay, or maybe I should put it like this. Maybe first we should address discipline and abuse.
Okay.
When does spanking as discipline turn to abuse?
Yeah.
At what point?
Okay. Spanking a child, as a psychologist, we don't really believe in spanking. Yeah, it will surprise you. We believe in teaching a child why you should not do what and the consequence behind it. If you should do this, this is what you get. Do you want to experience that? And of course,
most of the consequence of don't do is always negative. A child will say no. So when you do that, what do you think will happen? You get hurt, blood will come out of your hands. You try letting this child know why. Not just like, you see this thing, if you touch it, I will spank you. You've already created the fear in the child. Yes, they are trying to pass a message, but there is a fear in it. And the child will be trying to avoid those things. Not that they are respectful, but they don't want to be spanked. Okay? But is discipline, is spanking a child bad? No. There is where it gets to, maybe you keep warning with mouth, word of the mouth, and the child is not following up. There is a place of spanking. That the child will now know that, look, if you continue like this, it won't lead us to anywhere. So you need to be corrected. So it's not something that it has to be very used to a child, because I remember when I was in my primary school, secondary school days, there are some children, they will beat them, they will be folding their hand, you beat and beat and beat, they will, blow it off and walk away. Such children are already used to cane that nothing. And so many of them are always wild out there. You understand? So that's where spanking has become too much. So we shouldn't bring a child up with beating first. Let's use the word of the mouth to correct and show them the reason why they shouldn't do what. You
said using the word of mouth.
Yeah.
So now, what about scolding? Because scolding is actually word of mouth.
That's the word of mouth.
But it's at some point there are levels to the scolding, to word of mouth. You can raise your voice and you can become about it. So what about scolding? Because as mild as scolding might be, some people still find it too harsh.
Yeah.
So it's actually word of mouth. So is scolding bad to them? Because some people would say it is.
Scolding is not bad, but how do you do the scolding?
Okay.
So that's where it still comes, is the levels. My kind of training is making people to discover who they are. So we really need to know who we are, so that we can now imbibe it to the child. There are some parents, in the place of scolding a child, they are abusing that child. They are calling them, attacking the child. They are calling the child all manner of name. And you see, you are not using cane to flog a child. You are using your mouth to flog that child, make the child so useless. Just see some children, you are talking, they are crying. Because you've abused them, demoralized them so much that they go out there, they can't express themselves.
So
do you understand?
Abuse is not just limited to spanking.
Yeah.
Abuse can also be
verbally.
Verbally too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But then we've talked about spanking, scolding. I actually want to say this. So I don't want to be the antagonist really, but then I can't help it.
No, express yourself.
Okay, so the thing is, I want to bring in the religious and cultural aspects.
Okay.
I'm a Yoruba lady. So I remember I might not be able to say this in Yoruba, but then this is the English interpretation. Like, the place of madness is in a child's heart, or is in a child's mind. So you need to use cane to flush it out. Yes. So that's where the madness is. So you need to let it out with plugging. If we're turning to religion did not say we can't correct or spank or scold our children.
Okay.
If we're turning to culture did not say we should not correct, we should not scold our children. Yeah. So where is the mentality of the moment you scold, the moment you spank your child, the moment you punish your child, you see people come up to you and say you're abusing your child?
Okay, let me just bring the two. I understand the adage. I understand the religious quotation too. The madness we are talking about. No child born with madness. That's the first thing every parent should know.
No. Yeah.
Every madness a child has gotten it from the environment that means the mother, the father, and every other significant person around the child. Do you understand? So if there is any madness in the child, it's better the adult themselves remove the madness from them, so that the child can just see a loving environment to flow with. Because the child life's mental ability is built with the environment it finds itself. That's where the mental ability is developed. Do you understand? And when you talk about the rod, Symbolically, the rod is still the word of the mouth. You may be surprised to hear this. So start with the right word with the child at the very end, even from the womb. And the child will grow with those right words, with all those right principles, values, respect, honesty, telling the truth at every point and every given time. Do you understand? So the child, the beating you are giving to the child sometimes is some parents transfer their frustration to the child. And you see them spanking the child so much because you've not been able to work on yourself as the parent to really bring up this child the way it should grow. Do you understand? But does that mean that the parents shouldn't spank a child? I can't erase that. You can't keep allowing the child to keep going. You keep talking the word of the mouth. The child is not changing. You spank the child to know that, look, if you continue like this, I'm going to flog you. And you do the flogging. Let him feel it.
So we've gotten to the point where you find yourself at an event or school, and the teachers ask the child, who's your role model? And they call names of celebrities, of entrepreneurs, and all those big shots in the country or globally.
Yeah.
So what happened to parents as role model? What happens to children calling, my mom is my role model, my dad is my role model? Does that prove a point saying that parents are actually doing bad with parenting?
Oh no, I don't think so. It's just no, children watches a lot of telly. We introduce them to it at their earlier age. So we've not really made them to know that I'm your role model. They've not heard that word from us. And is there any parent that have ever done that? I don't think. My mom has never done that. So we hear role model from social media, from television, from radio, to newspaper, other people. So the parents should really now, that's what I'm talking about, this rediscovering yourself. You rediscover yourself. Look, I am the first role model to this child. And the child will also grow with that. So if you ask a child, some children, just the closeness with some children to the father or to the mother, some of them say, it's my dad, is my role model, my dad, my mom. Very few. So if you now said, I'm your first role model, do you know the meaning of role model? Let the child first hear that word from your mouth. And you now groom the child to that. And be a positive role model. I can't erode that.
Okay.
Because so many parents are actually negative role model.
We are not disputing the fact that some parents do traumatize their children. But this act, as barbaric and as saddening as it is not limited to Africa alone. It happens all over the world. So you can never understand the strive and struggle of a parent, not until you become one yourself. Because while they give their love to their children freely, to the outside world, you need to earn it. With that being said, we're going on a short break. When we return, the rainbow will continue. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, the program is still The Rainbow. We've had our feature segments, we've had our interview segment, which was pretty engaging. And now it's time for the Vox Pop segments. Let's enjoy.
The trauma of growing up in an African household is deep. Now, personally, I agree with that because a lot of our parents used what I call the rod and the staff. Like, if everybody understands what that is, there was a lot more rod than there was staff. And I think when you're a child and things aren't being explained to you, but you're being shouted at, and to the word that you use, Princess, militant, it's like you're trying to understand life, you're also growing, you're trying to learn, you're trying to breathe, you're trying to be.
Well, it depends on which perspective you are looking at it. But as an African, obviously, I would prefer our own model, although there are quite a lot to also learn from the Western models. For example, African model requires, adequate tutoring, adequate control, adequate coaching of children. but once in a while, some parents go overboard. Whereas on the other side, the Western model of liberalization, free, everything is free. A child sort of be the master of the house. You can't spank the child, you can't correct the child. You know, a child can take you to the authorities. I feel that also is not very. So that should be some kind of adequate balance between the two extremes.
African context is that when you have a child, you scold your child, you correct him. Where it is needed for you to harsh on him, you harsh on him. Where it is needed for you to beat him, you beat him, because that is our mode of culture. But in the other side of the world, their own is free. The child has every right at home. They designed a formula which they brought that child right. In my own context, when I was young, I don't have any right. You understand? It is my parent that has right on me.
Our cultures are not the same. But what I want to say, when it comes to parenting, it depends on the family. Some parents are high-handed, but it doesn't mean you will not still find such parents even outside our cultures here. They are everywhere, depending on the family and the individual. The only thing I want to advise is that for children, you have to consider their best interest. What is the aim of your correction? Are you correcting to put the child in the right path? Like, for example, you cannot tell me you are disciplining a child by using hot iron on the child. That's not discipline. It's torture and it's inhuman. It's not what we are looking at. Looking at our culture also. Those days we are looking at the issue of honesty and all of that. Do we still have that now? But it's not a yardstick for us to torture our children.
Yes, of course. That is largely the problem we have now in virtually Nigeria and Africa. We try to copy the Western world. Their culture is totally different from ours. Parents should desist from wearing their children almost naked. They will go and buy trousers that are tear off, wear their children, all in the name of they are doing fashion. As a responsible parent, I don't think it's advisable for parents to continue to allow their children wear all sorts of rubbish in the name of fashion. And not even that, you see the children try to imitate the West. Everything they do is like they want to imitate the Europeans. We Africans and Nigeria in particular, we should adapt to our own culture because our forefathers preserved their culture and that culture was very important to them and that was why they lived long. Because of the special cultures our forefathers preserved. But you see nowadays what is happening, the parenting is totally, you see a child telling the father, I wanna, I gonna, and it's not good. Each time I see children doing that, I stand out to correct them because it's not ideal. It's not our own style of culture in Africa.
It's not dramatic. It's a very perfect way of bringing up the youths. Besides, right from kids, if you are not trained well from your home, you surely take it out. And people will look at you as if you are just a disobedient child or something. But if you are a well-trained child, no matter where you go, you like to respect people, go by their rules and regulations, even without a parent beside you.
It's not really traumatic. It has to do with cultures and values. In African parenting, we are taught norms and values. We are taught respect. But in the Western parenting, most that is being promoted is liberty and freedom. And sometimes when freedom is being excessively used, a child will go astray.
No, actually, the African style of parenting, you understand, is more, it impacts more norms and values on the society of our children than the Western world because culture is the identity of every society in the world. So if we lose that, I think we lose everything.
The show had a lot to say. People are entitled to different opinions, but then whatever you choose to raise your children appropriately. Don't starve them of love, don't starve them of attention, and don't starve them of discipline. Up next is Do You Know? We've come to the end of this amazing episode, but then we're far from done because we're coming back to revisit this topic. But then before we leave, let me leave this to you. If we don't shape our kids, they are going to be shaped by outside forces that don't care the shape our kids are in. On this note, I'll say bye for now.
In a third final in 20 years.
Simply out of this world. Get a GoTV decoder, GoTenna, and 1 month max subscription for only 6,900 naira. Watch all the 64 games live from Qatar on GoTV Super.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you in your living room, office, everywhere and anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs, and the best of entertainment. You can download www.visiontv.co.uk, app for iOS or Android. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
Welcome to Africa, land of ancient civilization.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Bet on your luck with 1xBet. Test your luck and get a chance to win one of the super prizes. Bet on the sports event with 1xBet. Get the tickets and take part in the super cool prizes draw. Technospark smartphone, powerful generator, or a cool Bajaj motorcycle. Bet on your luck with 1xBet.